Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, as the title sort of indicates, I'm going to conclude the experiment on the long-term storage of sourdough starter. Exactly 9 months ago today, I took some of my sourdough culture, spread it out on parchment paper thinly, and let it air dry for a day or two. And then I ground it up into this powder and flakes of the culture. It's been in my freezer now for 9 months. I'm going to use it all. And I'm curious to see whether or not I can develop a culture from it. I know it's not going to just spring to life and become a culture, but by keeping it in a sealed container, if a culture develops, it came from it. So I will probably have to feed it several times, refresh it several times, but we should be able to see something happen if it isn't completely dead. And we're adding 4 ounces of flour, .02 ounces, I guess that's close enough, and 4 ounces of just tepid tap water. It's just a little bit shy, put a little bit more in it. There, 4 ounces of each. And we'll mix that up. Isn't that cute? That was a Christmas gift. A set of 3 little spatula things in my Christmas stocking from my sister. Okay. Hopefully that will hydrate, and before I finish this video or put it up, I'll be able to show you it's either working or it isn't working. Well, it's been about a day and a half, roughly 36 hours, since I started this. There have been a few bubbles, and it does have a sourdough smell, but then what would you expect? I put a sourdough powder in there, I guess you'd get the smell. It definitely hasn't used up the energy or whatever that was in the flour that I gave it to work on, so all I'm going to do is mix it around again. No great activity yet, that's for sure. I could see a few bubbles from the outside of the container, and I don't know if that was just air that I managed to stir in there when I was making this, or if it's actually starting to grow. Keep watching it and see what happens anyway. Now I'm going to make some angel biscuits. Well, angel biscuits come out of this book, Bread Alone, by Daniel Leader, and I think Judith Blahnik, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce her last name, I think she did the illustrations. This book was printed in 1993, and I just checked inside. This is a first edition, so this came out in 1993. I don't know if the book's still available, or if might be an updated version. I haven't checked to find out. I've used it many times over the years. It's excellent on different methods of how to bake different kinds of bread. And the one that I'm going to do is the angel biscuits, and I'll show you the ingredients in just a moment here. But of course, what I like about it is it gives everything in weights as well as dry measure. So even back in 1993, a book published in the US. So let's get the ingredients together and I'll show you what goes into angel biscuits. We'll have to find out later on if they're angel approved or not. I think I have everything assembled. 25 ounces of all-purpose white flour. That's 5 cups, I guess, if you're doing cups. 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of soda, baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of sea salt. A quarter of a cup of white sugar, combine those before I add the yeast. There's no reason why these should not rise. I guess they've got 3 leavening agents in them: baking soda, baking powder, and yeast. 1 teaspoon of dry yeast, and I'm using the instant yeast. In the cookbook they talk about proving the yeast in a few teaspoons or tablespoons rather of water. That's using the older conventional yeast, which you can still buy, of course, and most people still use, but I suspect if the book has been updated they've gone to using instant yeast because that's what most professional bakeries use now. And 1 cup of vegetable shortening. Cold vegetable shortening. This is just out of the refrigerator. Try to see if I can't bring it out in a few chunks here. That worked well, didn't it? The pastry cutter, just cut that in until it's well mixed into the rest of the ingredients there and is in smaller pieces. It's a very forgiving recipe. You could make this up to 2 days in advance and then bake them. As you'll see, when I get the rest of the ingredients and have this into a dough of some sort, it has to be refrigerated for at least an hour, but it says up to 48 hours. So covered and refrigerated for a couple of days if you had some special occasion that you were going to be making these. You could put them together and bake them on the day. I think that's pretty well done. 2 cups of cold buttermilk. I would like to have a spoon or something. Spatula will do, I guess. And that's just store-bought cultured buttermilk. This should make a soft and sticky sort of a dough. Get it all mixed here. And it doesn't really get kneaded. You get your hands into it to mix it up a little bit, but you want your biscuits to be delicate, not to have developed a gluten. So you don't knead it for any great length of time. I have most of it in there. I'll see if I can't get a hand dirty, at least one. I think this bowl is made by the Pyrex company. We call a lot of bowls Pyrex bowls, even though they're not. But what I like about this bowl, it has a nice snap-on lid, so you don't have to frig around with plastic wrap or whatever to get it covered. that's it. Get this off my fingers a bit. There's a nice cover. All I have to do is be able to find it. Now I will refrigerate it for at least an hour, probably a bit longer than an hour. And like I said, you can do it for up to 48 hours. So I'll bring you back when it's time to roll these out and bake them. Well, it's been in the refrigerator for 2 hours. I'm just turning it out onto a floured surface. On the sticky side still, so I'll add some flour to the top of it. I always tend to roll these things out too thin, so I'm trying not to this time. That's what I want right there. Certainly rolled out easily anyway. You bake them on a non-greased baking sheet. I'm going to use one with parchment paper. And I think it suggested a 2.5 inch cookie cutter, or biscuit cutter. I think this is 2 5/8 or something like that. Close enough, I guess. And spacing them about 1 inch apart. So I'll bring you back when I finish cutting them out. I've had enough for 2 trays. The oven has preheated to 450 degrees, which is quite a hot oven, and they bake for 12 to 15 minutes just until they are a light golden brown. So I'll only do 1 tray at a time. I'll put the other tray in the refrigerator while the first tray is cooking. I did mine for 12 minutes each time, and as you can see, they really developed. Hope they taste as good as they look. Best eaten fresh and warm, like a scone. But I'm hoping they freeze well, because I will be freezing. Whoa, they're falling apart on me. I will be freezing most of these, I guess. Bring them out as needed. Oh. We'll now have to see if they are angel approved. We're about to see if these are angel approved. I think they are. It's my girl. You want to have one of these nice angel biscuits? I'll take a bite out of it first. They are as light as a feather. Really good. What do you think? I guess it was alright. Went down quick, didn't it? So I can even have that. It hasn't got any chocolate in it or raisins or any of that foolishness. They seem to have a lot of layers. Sort of a crispy bottom, but they are so light. They raised up so well. They showed the 3 different kinds of leavening in them. I'm having mine with just a little bit of butter and some homemade plum jam. It's that yours, the last piece? There you go. That's my girl. Well, I hope you'll give these a try. There's nothing left on the plate here. It's all gone. I hope you'll give it a try. And I will carry on with this video and see whether or not I can get that dried sourdough culture to form into anything. And once I determine whether or not that is working, I will close the video down and get it up on YouTube. The light isn't very good in this end of the living room. There's just one lamp here, but that is Angel with her Christmas gifts. She gets toys from everybody, and I didn't arrange them there on the sofa. That's where she insists that they have to be. I sit on the other end of the sofa watching television, and she insists that all of her toys have to be up on the sofa all the time. She'll knock one off on the floor and has to get up immediately and go get it. Well, it's 24 hours later, so this is on the go for a little over 3 days. And I think all it was doing was waiting for me to stir it up like I did yesterday. Get a good look at that or not, but there was lots of action there. Lots of bubbles. And you can see finer bubbles down along the side there. So that proves you can save the thing for 9 months anyway, frozen in a dry state, and it will reconstitute and give you a sourdough culture again, a nice strong one by the looks of things. I'm going to strengthen it again. I'm going to use all of this starter. And I'll add 4 ounces of water and 4 ounces of flour to it. I'm going to probably have to strengthen it one more time after this before I'll have enough to use and to make sure that it's strong enough. For those who haven't seen the process that I went through to dry and store this, at the end of this video, those things that they call end screens, those videos that pop up at the very last, the last 20 seconds I think, I will put a link using one of those to the process that I used to dry this and save it. And I'm going to use this to make a loaf of bread, and I will show you the loaf of bread at the end of this video, just to make sure that it is strong enough. I won't bother taking you through the entire process. I will put a link also at the end of the video to one of my sourdough bread videos so that you can see what I did if you're interested and want to go see the process for making the loaf. But I'm very encouraged that worked, and I certainly will save some more, dry it, and put it in the freezer. Something could happen and you lose your culture. Forget to save some and make it all into a loaf is one way of doing it, I guess, but anything could happen, that something happens to it and it just doesn't survive. It gets too hot and it kills it or something. But it's good to have a backup, and I'm glad to see that this works. And also it would be a good way to share. If you have a culture and somebody wants to try it and they live a long distance from you, you can send them a little bit in an envelope, and they've got the culture. Well, I will bring you back when I'm ready to feed this again, and that will be probably the end of the video. But as I said, I'll put links at the end of the video to how I did the storage of it and making of the sourdough loaf with the sourdough culture. That's another 24 hours later here, and as you can see, this thing is very active. I'm going to feed it one more time with 4 ounces of flour and 4 ounces of water, and then I will make the bread. So the next shot you will see will be the finished loaf of bread, hopefully. I just wanted to say that the Angel Biscuits, they do freeze beautifully. I put most of those in the freezer, and last evening I brought out 2 or 3 of them and put them in the microwave for a few minutes, and they're just like they just came out of the oven. So if you make that whole large batch, you can freeze them and bring them out and reheat them and use them whenever you want, and they are just as good as they were when they first come out of the oven. Well, here is hoping, but I'm quite sure, looking at that as active as that is, it's going to make a good loaf of bread. It's absolutely as active as the one that I've been kept going for the last 9 or 10 months and keep using. So I'll show you the loaf in just a moment here. Well, there it is, just out of the oven. If anything, this reconstituted culture is stronger than the one that I have been feeding and using for the last 8, 9, 10 months, whatever. The smell of it baking was much stronger sourdough smell than I've been getting out of the other loaf, what I've been doing. So I'm very pleased with this. Now I just wished I had saved the leftover culture separately, but I didn't. I've mixed it in with the culture that I use, so in theory I guess it'll be okay. It will strengthen the culture that I'm using. That is the loaf. About now you should start to see those end screens popping up. Upper left hand corner will be the video showing how I dried the culture. Upper right hand corner will be this multigrain loaf, how that's made. And the bottom center will be the video that shows the initial growing of the culture after I bought it from King Arthur Flour. Gives you that method. So thank you very much for watching.